Thank you so much for joining our humble little podcast. Welcome back if you've been here before. And if this is your first time, welcome aboard. Excited to be here for what would be a solo podcast today. So I'm going to chat with you about some questions I think you should ask, specifically 6 questions that I think you should ask every day. All right. So you've probably heard it said, and I've heard it said by a lot of great people. One of them is Tony Robbins, that says the quality of your life depends upon the quality of the questions that you ask yourself. A lot of people have kind of a messed up life or messed up things in their life because they're asking the wrong questions. What is the quality of your questions? And do you even ask yourself any questions? I don't mean like, why am I so stupid or how did I get here? Not that kind of stuff. You probably shouldn't call yourself stupid. And if you don't know where you are and how you got there, that's another podcast conversation. But seriously, what's the quality of your questions? Well, it's something that I've kind of looked at real closely. I'm a big journaler. I've got my journal with me right here. On the front of it, it says thoughts. How thinking of me, right? And what I love about this journal is it really gives me the opportunity to do a couple of things. One of the things I asked myself when I was thinking about the types of questions that I ask myself is, what's something that I struggle with that I would like to not struggle with anymore? And I don't know about you, but my brain has this amazing ability, sarcasm intended, of thinking of all the things that I'm anxious about as soon as my head hits the pillow. I don't know if there's some little device in the pillow that's programmed to do this, but literally every time my head hits the pillow, I'm immediately thinking of the email I forgot to send or the conversation I had that left me feeling a little odd or whatever. So I thought to myself, that's one of the things that I really need to deal with. And I went on this, and I'm still on it. I started, I should say, what I would call a 90-day journey. And I'll let you know right now, because I'll actually flip to my journal. I'm on, I've got 78 days to go. So I'm early on in this journey. But this 90-day journey of really looking at the quality of my questions and my thinking and what I'm struggling with. So this is an example of one of the things, and I'll tie this all together. I struggle with when I lay down at night that I start thinking about all the things I'm worried about. So now I've started a new habit, because remember, your habits are also very important. What you habituate, what you do on a regular basis kind of becomes the makeup of your life. If you're in a habit of eating healthy and exercising and meditating and praying and being kind and being grateful and being present, if those are the habits that you establish, then you can imagine the kind of life you're going to have. If you're in the habit of eating horribly, not resting enough, never exercising, being angry all the time, finding the bad in everything, well, that's the kind of life you're going to have. All right. So anxiety when I touch my head to the pillow. So I started a new habit. As soon as that happens, I get out of bed, I grab my journal and my pen, I go into the other room, and I start writing down or journaling all the things that I'm worried about. I'm really stressed out about this conversation, and in this meeting, so and so gave me a weird look when I made a suggestion, and that's like just sitting with me wrong. And are they upset with me? And what are the reasons that they would be upset with me? And why would they be upset with me? And I just literally go off on all the fuzzy stuff that's going on in my head that's stressing me out. I just, if you will, regurgitate it into the journal. I just write it out. Now, a couple of things happen. First of all, as I start to see it and write it, it's weird. It's almost like I'm pouring it out of myself. It's almost like I'm getting rid of it. It's almost like I'm purging myself of these things or this thing or this issue or this concern that I have in my mind. So the act of actually journaling it, of getting it out, of writing it, is almost like a way to sort of take it off of my mind or take it off of my heart by putting it in the journal. It's almost like mentally I'm doing this mental exercise where this no longer lives in my brain. This now lives in the journal. Now, if you really want to get in the weeds with this, you could ask, well, do you just write down what you're worried about, or do you write down some suggestions? I just kind of let it flow. So I'll start writing down what I'm worried about. And interestingly, as I'm writing down what I'm worried about, I'm also starting to advise myself. It's almost like your higher self, or the Holy Spirit or the universe, whatever you call it, okay? Because we all might call it something different, but it's almost as if something inside of you is tapped into. So as I start to write down, for example, I'm having this disagreement with this person at work and I think they're out to get me and, whatever. All of a sudden I'm like, but are they really out to get you? And if you think about it, maybe they're going through something in their life and you did hear recently that, they're dealing with this, and maybe you're just reading it wrong. And so all of a sudden, as I'm journaling it, and the other day, not to like throw myself under the bus and make you worry about me, but it was like 9 pages, 10 pages of front and back. After I started doing this, I literally was giving myself some pretty awesome advice. And I started asking myself some good questions. Here, we're getting back to the questions part. And I said, is this real? And if this is real, what's the worst thing that can happen? And if the worst thing happened, if you catastrophize this and this, they're absolutely out to get you and they absolutely hate you and you read it absolutely right on this Zoom call. They're gunning for you, man. They're trying to destroy you. What can they do? Like, what can they really, really do? And when I really take it to like that logical place, I realize it's much ado about nothing, or I'm blowing it out of proportion. And I think back of all the things that I was worried about, and I think back of all the things that actually didn't happen. Okay, so that's one of the things I suggest you do. So if that's something that you struggle with, do that. Start just writing it out. But start off by asking yourself, what are some things or some habits that you have in your life? So this is a question you ask yourself. It's a good question. What are the habits or the things that I do in my life that are within my control that I'd like to work on? And one of the questions, when I asked that question, one of the answers rather that I had to that question was this whole head touches pillow, worry explodes out of my brain. Then what I did was is I decided, and I put this on my work laptop. I have a little sticky note. And on the sticky note, I have 3 questions. And now one of the questions I kind of repeat at the end of the night, which I'll get to in a second. It's very similar, but it's because it's something that I'm really, really focusing on. But I have a little sticky note, 1, 2, 3, and it has 3 questions. So it's very visible to me as I'm emailing, as I'm doing Zoom calls, as I'm meeting with people, as I'm writing, because I'm in the process of writing a book right now. I'm almost done. And these are the 3 questions that I constantly have in front of me. I have it on my laptop, I have it in my journal, and I'm going to get to that as well, how I do that. And I have it on a sticky note in my bathroom in the mirror, because not that I obviously, if you saw me right now, I'm completely a shaved bald person, so I don't spend a lot of time on my hair, but I brush my teeth and floss quite a bit. And here's the 3 questions I ask myself: will this make me excellent? Will this make me healthier? And will this help me to serve slash make a difference? So as I'm doing things, as I'm having a conversation, and maybe go back to the Zoom call, I'm starting to like catastrophize and worry about it. I look at that and I think to myself, will this make me excellent, like sitting here worrying? And will this make me healthier? Is this a healthy thing to be sitting here focusing on this person's, resting Zoom face? And then will this help me to make a difference and to serve? And then I realized getting distracted in this negativity, getting distracted in this worry, getting distracted in this anxiety, using that as an example, the answer would be no. So then I adjust. Now, I ask myself that question all day long. So as I reach for, I'm stressing out. Now, I don't know about you. When I'm stressed, like my drug of choice is sugar. So when I'm stressed, like I want a donut. Like honestly, I want a donut real bad. So now what I do is when I'm stressed, if there's junk food in the house, because occasionally there is, and I'm reaching for it, I stop and I ask myself, will this make me healthier? And the answer is often no. So then I'm like, okay, so am I really hungry or am I just stressing right now? I'm stressing right now. Okay, let me just drink some water, maybe go for a walk, go outside, let the sun shine on my face for a second, pet the dog, text somebody that I love. But I ask myself, will this make me healthier? When I sit down to dinner and we go to eat and I, get out some steak and some vegetables, and then all of a sudden, maybe the kids are having some mac and cheese and man, it looks good. So I grab a spoonful of it and I don't even think about it, because the other day I did this. I just literally just grabbed the spoonful and just ate it. And I was like, oh, will this make me healthier? Now I already had the spoonful. So, at least I got that, but I didn't take a second, because I stopped and I go, nah, this really isn't going to make me healthier. Now it's the decent macaroni and cheese and it's organic. So it's somewhat a little bit healthier. And trust me, my kids don't eat a ton of that kind of stuff. They're eating fruits and vegetables and healthy proteins, but kids being kids, sometimes they want some of that fun stuff. But I stopped myself. And now my 13-year-old son sees me do that. So my 13-year-old son notices that this little sticker on my laptop. He goes, hey, can you tell me about that? So I tell him. And so he writes it down and he puts it in his backpack. And he's like, Dad, today at lunch, I was going to get one of the hot cookies. And I asked myself, will this make me healthier? And I was like, what did you do? And he's a super honest kid. He goes, I got one. I'm like, oh, he goes, but I split it in half and I give half of it to my friend. I was like, all right, well, it's like the old joke, what's not as fattening as a cookie, half a cookie. So he got the message, and he's like, but I love this whole idea of, will this make me excellent? Will this make me healthier? And will this help me to serve or make a difference? So as I go through my day, I'm asking those questions to myself. Somebody cuts me off in traffic and I feel myself getting mad. Now, I'm the least road rager in the world, because I know better, because there are people out there that are looking for a reason to like do some damage to somebody. So I'm not down for that. But when I feel like even the emotions coming up in me, or I'm getting mad because they cut me off, like, I just kind of say, is this going to make me excellent to get mad? No, it's not. So you know what? Get back to the podcast you were listening to. I recommend Above Board with Candor Path. Get back to the book that you're listening to. Do those kinds of things. Will this make me healthier? Now, getting angry right now is not going to make me healthier. So these are 3 great questions to ask yourself through the day. So if I may make a humble recommendation, first, ask yourself a couple of questions. Sit down with a pen and paper and ask yourself some questions about where you are in your life. How am I doing with my mental health? How am I doing with my financial health? How am I doing with my relationship health? What are some things, maybe this is a great question, like I asked, what are some things that I'd like to work on changing? And what are the steps that I need to take to make those changes? To paraphrase again, Tony Robbins, he says that the way to truly have success in life is to take massive action, is just to do it, So even just that act of me grabbing my journal at night and writing out what I'm worried about, what I'm stressing over, I've got to tell you, and I'll report to you and let you know this, I've done this several times and it truly, truly helps. So ask yourself that question, what are some things, and then see where that takes you. Like, what rabbit hole do you go down with all of that? And then what I suggest is maybe grabbing these 3 questions, writing them on a sticky note, putting them somewhere that you see regularly. So if you have a desk at work, put it on your desk. If you've got a backpack that you carry around when you're outside doing your job, then, laminate it, put it on your backpack, write it in your journal, have it on the dashboard of your car, wherever you're going to see it in a prominent place, on your mirror in the bathroom, or whatever, maybe like I do on your laptop. Will this make me excellent? Will this make me healthier? And will this help me to serve others? And I put, will this help me to serve others / make a difference? Because that's kind of my goal, is to serve others and to make this world better, to make a difference in this world. And as you're doing things in your life, as you're having conversations, as you're eating, as you're, whatever it is that you're doing, imagine if you asked yourself those 3 questions. And if the answer is no, then you've just asked yourself a question that has caused you to take pause and perhaps to change direction, right? All right. So here's 3 more questions. And the third one is actually a repeat of the third one of the last 3, but I still ask this. At night, when I put my head on the pillow, partially to kind of retrain myself to think a little bit differently as I lay down at night, I ask myself 3 questions. Number 1, was I kind and was I loving? And I really reflect on my day, and I think about, when my daughter was talking to me about the funny thing that her friend did in school today, was I kind and was I loving when I responded and spoke to her, or rather, if she shared with me something that somebody did that wasn't kind, you get very defensive and very protective of your kids. You're like, well, you should have told that kid, get out of your face. And, or I think about, when I went grocery shopping, or, in the gym, when that guy walked in front of me when I was, in the middle of my workout and just ignored me and bumped into me, and whatever. I literally just reflect on my day. And then I think about the people that are closest to me, because honestly, those are the people that you're probably the least kind to, because most of us conduct ourselves like normal human beings out in the public, but sometimes we're not so kind to the people that share the same house with us. We get just kind of comfortable, and sometimes we are dismissive or whatever. So I say to myself, was I kind of loving towards my wife today? When she was talking to me, when she needed me, when she was stressing out with the kids, when, she just finished making dinner for us, and then, got up and started, cleaning up, did I step in and go, hey, listen, you've done so much today. I know I've been working all day, but you know what, why don't you go take a shower? I'll clean up. Was I kind of loving towards her when she was sharing with me something that she's struggling with her friend or with her family member that she's going through? Was I kind? Was I loving? The second question I ask, was I present? Interesting, isn't it? Was I present really does tie into, was I kind and was I loving? It really does. Because even the examples I just gave, when my daughter's talking to me, was I kind and loving and was I present? It's kind of hard to be kind and loving and not being present, really. Well, I mean, you could say nice words kind of in a Disney, yeah, I love you, you're great, you look beautiful, huh? I mean, is that really kind and loving though if you're not present? So something that I'm working on is presence. So I ask myself, was I present during that call? Was I present when I was working with that client? Was I present when I was engaging with the person at Starbucks? It doesn't matter. Was I present? Was I looking them in the eye? Was I making eye contact? Was I listening to them? Was I relating to them? So was I kind and was I loving? I ask myself about that for my day. Was I present? And then last, a repeat. I ask myself, did I make a difference and did I serve? And I have to be honest with you, when I've reviewed that, now I ask myself that at night, but then when I wake up in the morning, I'll journal. So I try to journal first thing in the morning. I kind of spend some time with my coffee, get a cup of coffee. I pray for people. I pray for myself. That's what I do. That's how I roll. But I pray for people and I pray for things and I give thanks and I write down what I'm grateful for. And then I just write those questions down. I mean, I've already asked them at night, but then I just say, yesterday was I kind and loving? Was I present? Did I make a difference and did I serve? And I'm just going to let you know that a lot of the times the answer is no for some of those things. The other day, I have to tell you, I was not very present. I had back-to-back calls, probably about 6 or 7. And maybe that doesn't sound like a lot, but if you start your morning like I do fairly early and your first call's at 9 and then you have another one at 10 and then you have one at 12 and you have one at 1 and you have one at 2 and you have one at 2:30, whatever. By the time you're done with the calls, you've done so many calls, you really feel like you haven't gotten anything done. And I felt like when I'd come out from these calls, I was kind of a zombie. The kids came home from school, I like hugged them. Hi, how was your day? Is it doing okay? All right, great. Oh, wait, I gotta go back on a call. My answer was no. It was no. And even though it was no, instead of beating myself up, I was just like, well, I need to work on that. Was I kind and loving? Yeah, but I wasn't really that present, so maybe I wasn't. Did I serve and did I make a difference? Well, I served the clients I was speaking to, and I was maybe present on those calls, so that's good. But I wasn't kind and loving and present for everybody in my life. The point being is, it's great to ask yourself these questions because it helps you kind of reflect a little bit more in your day. Many people, maybe most people go through the day almost like a zombie. You know what I mean? They just make the same cup of coffee and drive the same way to work and they do what they have to do and they put on a happy face and they kind of get through the day, and then all of a sudden the next thing you know, you're back at home and you're shoveling down the dinner and you're watching Real Housewives of whatever random city, and then you're like, crap, I gotta go to bed. And you go to bed and you do it all over again. You're not asking yourself any questions. You're not resetting yourself. Your day is different. My day is different. It's different when I ask myself, will this make me excellent? Will this make me healthier? Will this help me to serve or to make a difference? My day is just different. I'm on this journey. I still got a bunch of days to go, but I have to tell you that I already sense a little bit of an improvement. And the improvement is coming from more the awareness than anything else. The awareness that these things that I did not make me excellent. The awareness that I was not present in this moment, or the awareness that I wasn't kind and loving. Conversely, oftentimes when I go, yeah, man, you know what? This will make me excellent. And, or this was something that makes me healthier, or I did make a difference. I mean, I spoke the other day, I spoke at a conference Sunday morning at a large conference, about 500 people. And they were awesome. It was an amazing group of folks. And it was early in the morning. It was on a Sunday. Now, a lot of people might get going, oh, I got to go to work on Sunday. But, I love what I do. So it didn't matter to me. I had to wake up at 5:40 in the morning on a Sunday, all good. Got there, did my thing, had this amazing reception from these 500 people, stood there afterwards, talked to about a dozen people who hugged me and told me what I said made a difference. And I remember when I got in the car, I smiled to myself and I said something. I go, I feel excellent. I feel healthy. And I feel like I made a difference right now. And I got home. I was home by like 10:45 in the morning and I felt great. So sometimes this awareness that, yeah, man, I did do these things. So listen, what I want you to take from this is I want you to start asking yourself slightly better questions. again, I'm going to repeat myself. My recommendation is ask yourself a chief question, like a main question, like, what can I do to make myself feel better? Or what are some things that I need to work on? Or what are some things that I need to let go of? What are some things that I'm struggling with now that I'd like to? These are questions you ask yourself, and then just sit there and write it out and come up with a couple of things. Maybe stick a little sticky note. Maybe your questions will be different. Maybe your questions won't be, will this make me excellent? Maybe your question will be, will this make me peaceful? Maybe you're struggling with feeling peaceful, or will this make me calm? Or will this make me successful? Or maybe you're focused on wealth building right now. So will this make me wealthy? Will this grow my business? Will this help me? Whatever it is that you've landed on that is important to you, start asking yourself some questions about it. The better the questions, the better the life. The better the life, the better everything, right? So listen, thank you so much for joining me and for listening to me for a little bit. I hope you got a little something out of this, and I hope you're inspired to ask yourself some better questions. Until we meet next time, thanks for joining me on Above Board with Candor Path, and we will see you again real soon. Have a great day.